I see the button. Thank you very much. So welcome to our final day of the University of Maryland Cancer Institute Wellness and Support Center Survivorship Week 2021. We at the Barbara L. Posner Wellness and Support Center are really excited to have been able to bring you this week of events. And they are all being recorded and will be on our webpage, maybe within the St. Joe's YouTube channel. So please contact us and let us help you find some of those recordings or all of those recordings so you can get the benefits of all the events that we've had. And today I'm talking with Victoria English Martin, integrative health coach, fitness professional, mother of four, and breast cancer survivor. She also is a health coach and has a program called After the Crisis, which hopefully we'll talk a little bit about today, specifically the coaching part of it, because I think that might be a nice launching pad for some people. So Victoria, thank you for joining us again. Your talk on Monday was, as I've said before, absolutely, I don't know if riveting is an okay word, but it was the passion, the compassion, the story that you have and the lessons that you're able to weave in that were just precious for sure. So thank you very much. And I really encourage everybody to listen to that again. And it was quite a feat of determination with ending up in your car to be online with us. So that was just great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you and welcome. Um, so let's see. I was going to ask you, we did just have a nice conversation before we pressed record, so we'll get to that. But it was the idea today to maybe go to where you are with helping people understand when they can identify or when they've been alerted to a health crisis after their cancer treatment, either physically or emotionally, that they can then start to be more aware of and to unravel and to get to what's the root cause of why I'm coping this way, which is turning out to be a maladaptive way. Is it with overeating? Is it with spending too much? Is it with drinking? Is it with, smoking again, possibly? So many different things that we can be doing that are just helping us feel a little better pretty quickly, an instant kind of feel good, but yet there's a deeper reason and deeper, issue there. That what are some tips? What are some tools to start to uncover those, to increase that awareness so you can see what's going on and then move on from there, work on there.
Right. Yeah, anything that is creating an unnatural hit of serotonin or dopamine is dangerous territory, especially for cancer survivors, as we've been through a tremendous trauma. Our body's trying to return to homeostasis. Homeostasis is a wonderful gift that we have. So if we get a fever, our body knows what to do to get better. If we have a cut, our body knows how to heal. It's the same way with emotional things. Our body is striving to get back to a normal state of being. When we do things that interrupt that homeostasis, like drinking, shopping, any video games, nicotine, anything that gives you that hit of unnatural serotonin and dopamine, feels good in the moment. And it's completely natural. And I think that's the first thing to understand, is that of course you want relief. Of course you do. You've been through something awful. However, the downside of that, and it's science, it's proven that the flip side after we get that unnatural hit is we get the unnatural low. So unlike a normal day where you may have a good high, maybe interacting with friends, watching a funny movie, dancing to fun music, that's a nice normal lift in your feel good chemicals in your brain. There's no downside to that. The other stuff gives you that unnatural boost and then an unnatural low. So in your body's pursuit of homeostasis, it's saying, wait, is that normal? How do I get back to that? So that creates the cycle, the repetitive cycle, which becomes a habit, a dependence, and sometimes an addiction. So when I understood that, it took a lot of the shame away. And so if anyone's listening to this and you're in any kind of that cycle which mimics, please understand it's just natural. And it's just your brain trying to return to homeostasis. And when you understand that, it makes the, I'll use the word withdraw, more tolerable because you understand it's just your body trying to get back to normal. So the methodology that I use in coaching uses something called the path, and that is pause. Pardon me. I have my thyroid's fried from radiation, so I always have a frog in my throat, especially in the morning. But that involves the pause, act, transformation, honing. And that's something that I work with my clients and my groups on. And the first thing is the pause. And that's when you become aware of things, you get out of that cycle and you step away from it without judgment and without shame. And that is so critical. And that's what keeps a lot of us stuck, is the shame. So when you understand the physiology behind this, you can go, well, no wonder. Okay, that's what happened to me. I was able to go for periods of time without drinking, but I felt that shame. I felt that craving for it, and not just a physical craving, because a physical craving for something like alcohol leaves your body after about 5 days. It's gone from your body. It's the thinking, the cycle of thinking. And when you can understand, okay, this is just something that I fell into. And again, it doesn't have to be this big thing like drinking. It can be something like negative self-talk, poor self-esteem, judging your body. And you say, well, okay, I fell into that. It's no wonder that I did. It's understandable that I did. And now I'm ready to be truthful and kind of stop that cycle, because if the cycle doesn't truly serve me anymore. Yes, it might make me feel better for a few minutes when I click that purchase button, or I eat that big old piece of cake, or I have that wine. Of course, it's going to make me feel better for a little bit, but it's not serving me. So that's the first part. Then you go into the act. And I love the act technique because this is where we retrain our brain. And so I'll use drinking as an example. If I said to myself, drinking is awful, I will never drink again. I can say those words. My brain will not believe those words. It knows that that's not what I truly, truly believe. Therefore, change, long-lasting change, will not happen. So when I work with my clients, let's say I had a client who was misusing alcohol, and I said, well, let's take a belief that you have around alcohol and change it just a little bit so it's still believable to your brain. Something I would encourage them to find ways to rephrase it. So they may say, instead of saying, alcohol is terrible, I will never drink again. Your brain won't believe that. They would turn it around to something more like, alcohol makes me feel good for a little while, but it doesn't really serve me. That's something that your brain can say, that's true. Yeah. Okay. And that way, you're feeding your brain things that it believes and can create that change in neural pathways. That's the remarkable part about this methodology, is over time, you're telling yourself things that you do believe, and you can follow through on those. So if the client says to themselves, alcohol makes me feel good for a little while, but it doesn't really serve me, that makes their choice of whether to engage in that maladaptive coping skill today much, much easier. It takes the emotion out of it. It takes the judgment and the shame out of it. Because if they're saying alcohol is terrible, I'm never going to drink again. You know what they're going to think? Their brain is going to go, what about that wedding you have? What about the graduation? What about New Year's Eve? Because the brain can't accept that because it doesn't feel true. So I don't say I will never drink again. My clients don't say I will never drink again. I will never overspend. They have to take it day by day and figure out what's true for them today. And that's where the lasting change occurs. There's a really interesting study from Harvard. I'm just going to find it so that I make sure I'm referencing it correctly.
Sure, and I see a lot of that methodology that you're talking about. For example, I know that currently my parents live with me, and it can be very stressful when I first get home because it's a whole
Mm-hmm.
different environment now. And so quickly reaching for the candy jar and just kind of
Yeah.
going and like that does make me feel good, but is it serving me? Is it helping me get to what is difficult? The transition is difficult. So if I can notice that and find a way to help my transition in getting home, talking to myself a
Yeah.
little bit more about, okay, this is what we're going to try to do for the transition. And then also knowing that maybe I do need something nourishing when I first get home. Certainly need to have some, water with lemon or have some nuts, and then make
Mm-hmm.
me stronger, physically, and able to deal with whatever might come from the chaos that I might be walking into.
Exactly.
Rather than
And,
saying I'm terrible and bad for needing that candy or wanting that candy, it's like, yeah,
right.
it does make you feel good, but yet there's a better way to do this.
Yes, exactly. You nailed it. And that's, yes, it takes the judgment out. Well, of course you want candy. Why wouldn't you? Candy makes you feel good. Of course you would want a couple of glasses of wine. Why wouldn't you? A couple of glasses of wine makes you feel good. So that's the beauty of it. And then you come to the clarity, and you actually just demonstrated the clarity. How does it feel? How does this feel in my body? How does this discomfort feel? Where do I feel it? What emotions are coming up for me? And how does this compel me to behave? I feel anxious. I feel tired. I feel overwhelmed. It makes me want to blank thing, do my thing.
Right, right.
But you see the difference there, Ginny, how the
Yeah,
judgment comes out of it. The
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I didn't mean to interject because you wanted to share with us that study. That
no,
sounds fascinating.
it's no, that was actually perfect. No, the study I came up with that I didn't come up with that I'm referencing 2007, and just to put it concisely, so this psychologist from Harvard was able to assist 44 hotel maids in lowering their blood pressure, losing weight, and improving their body fat ratios. And the way they did this is they told the maids that their daily activities was an exercise, that cleaning the hotel rooms was exercise.
Neat.
So at the start of the study, they interviewed 84 maids and told them that this was exercise. Hold on. Okay, let me reference this. Sorry.
That's great.
Yes. And so the 40, so there were 88 maids. 44 of the maids were told that this was exercise. They were reminded to, I think they gave them some sort of Fitbit thing. The other group, they didn't say anything to. And so that was the controller group. And the 44 maids, which were told this was exercise, lost 5 pounds. Their systolic blood pressure was down by 10 points on average. And they reported having a healthier, more optimistic mindset.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can just imagine that. Yeah, turn it around from like your work and the drudge and the dreary of cleaning a hotel room to
Yes,
where this is my activity. And I'm sure their food choices then changed,
exactly.
because of that.
So the power of the mind is incredible. And that's what I talked about in my speech. When I would look in the mirror, I felt ridiculous, and I would say things that were true. I didn't know how to quite be kind to myself, but I would put on a sweater that was blue and it would bring out my eyes. And I'd say, Victoria, your kids would really like that sweater. It makes your eyes look nice. That was something my brain could believe. And those little things, that little shift in how I spoke to myself, even if I had to do it in the third person for a while,
Right.
was tremendous. Until ultimately I woke up one day and I said, I love myself. I couldn't believe it. So it's the power of the mind and figuring out what feels true to you. What can your brain accept today?
Mhm. So again, methodology is path
Mm-hmm.
for one of these ways to uncover, to increase that awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and tell us that again, P.
So there's path is pause.
Oh, right, pause. I love pause.
Mm-hmm.
I taught a meditation class yesterday, and it's so key for me to just, my acronym was STOP yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and that's all just about the pausing so you can notice what's going on. But
Yes.
excuse me. Okay, so P is pause.
Yes. P is pause. Uh, A is act, the act technique where
All right.
unlearn. We have the awareness, the clarity, and the turnaround. So the awareness of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how it makes me feel in my body, in my emotions, the clarity, what could work to change this, and then the turnaround, figuring out a way that your brain will accept a small shift, and then then the shift becomes something new, something better. And but it's all taking it in a way that your brain can accept it as truth, integrate it, and it influences your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs. And then
Right.
there's the transformation, which is just changing over time. Oftentimes, whatever the behavior, I work mostly with food and alcohol, um, but a lot of it is mindset as well. Um, Changing over time, taking a break from that behavior. So, for
Mhm.
example, my clients will commit to 30 days of no alcohol, no matter what. We talk about non negotiables, understanding that yes, there's going to be some uncomfortable times in this. However, I see the value in going through this to experience a different way of being.
And increase your awareness around that
Mm-hmm.
rather than not having an awareness. Okay,
Exactly.
nice.
Building on your successes, at the end of 30 days, recognizing all the changes that have occurred. Now, with something like alcohol, obviously it's going to be physical and emotional, but it's the same way with any maladaptive behavior. How do you feel after not having all those Amazon boxes in your, like, how do you feel looking at your bank account and seeing it up by a few, I don't know, depending on the person, few hundred, few $1,000s,
Right.
from not engaging in that self-medicating, self-sabotaging behavior? And then the final phase is hone, where it just becomes, you have mastery, more or less, you have mastery over it. This is just a part of how you live your life now.
Right.
And that's where the real freedom occurs, because I don't have to go around and say, oh, I'm an alcoholic. I have a drinking problem. I can't drink. What does that do? That makes me smaller. That makes me feel deprived. That makes me feel less than. Instead, I say, I can drink. I can. I have a store, I'm sure, within a mile. I choose not to because I see the value in living a different way.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. Well, teaching this methodology is something that needs time to learn, I'm sure. So tell us about your program and about coaching, because I think patients might be interested. We have so many wonderful things here at the Wellness and Support Center. But sometimes, and I've actually talked to a couple people that, they might not want to talk to anyone in their support group, or they might not want to meet with a therapist for cognitive behavioral therapy,
Mhm.
but yet coaching sounds so intriguing. And so, maybe yeah. So tell us a little bit about coaching and about your After the Crisis program, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course. Uh, I work individually with clients one on one. I also do some group coaching. So I've had both. I enjoy both. There's so much benefit to both. And what I love about coaching, and I'm a big fan of therapy, CBT, all of that. Coaching is focused on the present and looking forward at the future. And
Mm.
I love that because we can acknowledge the past. Obviously, I need background on my clients. Oftentimes there's a reason that we're engaging in these maladaptive behaviors, like a crisis, a trauma, whatever. Uh, so we look at it, we acknowledge it, and then we say, okay, and this has brought us to where we are today. What do we want for today? And then it is the most beautiful thing. It brings me to tears when I see clients go through, let's say, 30 days of giving up whatever behavior, choosing to engage in that behavior, say 30 days. And then to see the clarity and the optimism start to reemerge, and they start to remember what they like to do, and they start to remember what it feels like to be in their own skin. And then they start to look forward, and they're painting with a big brush instead of a little tiny broken crayon. It's like they have this big paintbrush and they're just starting to make broad strokes and dream of the future. And that is amazing to see. So
That's
that's what I do. Typically I work with clients for around 12 weeks.
okay. Well, if it's okay with you, we'll put your link. Should we do that? Is that the
Of
best way to help people reach out if they'd like to?
course.
Bless you.
Summertime, so much pollen. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an honor for me to have this opportunity to share what I do because, as you can probably tell, it comes from a place of love and compassion. And I feel so honored to be able to help other people.
A final thing, if you don't mind, would be what we
Mhm.
were talking about before we pressed record, which I think was just so great. I was asking you, how do we help patients get more engaged in the different services that we have here in the Wellness and Support Center? Because we very much appreciate, see, and respect that there's a lot of overwhelm. You're going through a impossible diagnosis, treatment, and then trying to put everything back together, and
Mhm.
don't know that we can be here to help that because it feels like another appointment.
Right.
And so you were starting to say it just beautifully, and how,
Mm.
yeah, you understand that, and you wished you could have jumped in a little bit more, not here, but within your own cancer institute, because it could have
Mhm.
been much more helpful. But how do we help people tease that out, that it's not too much to add?
I think a big shift occurred when I understood that I was going to have to, I don't like to use the words have to, it would serve me to pursue healing with the same vigor
Wow.
with which I approached fighting cancer. So, as you know, when I went into this, I was like Braveheart, right? I'll do anything, I'll take any suffering. Well, that knocked me down. And I wanted to just go back to who I had been. I understand now that healing takes time, takes effort, takes compassion, and takes community. I wanted to do it all on my own. Well, first of all, the awareness, talk about awareness. I wasn't even aware there was a healing that needed to occur.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
So if anyone's listening, be aware of that. We can't will ourselves to the other side of the healing that is imperative after cancer. And I'm talking body, mind, spirit. We cannot will ourselves to get to the other side of this. And I wish I had known that. I could have saved myself some suffering. Perhaps I wouldn't have tried to climb that 14,000-foot mountain. Perhaps I wouldn't have picked up alcohol for a brief period. So I think just understanding that and taking any judgment away from it and thinking, oh, I'm sick of it. I don't want to be around there anymore. But you get to go in as a different version of you. You are no longer in active treatment. You are on a path to healing. So just show up for your chemotherapy appointments, show up for your healing appointments.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Thank you for that, because we'll
Of course.
definitely work to communicate that more. We meet patients when they're first diagnosed, if they need to, in the middle of treatment, and then to talk about what happens after treatment, survivorship, or that phase
Yes.
of survivorship. So being able to use some of that language really will help. So thank you for your experience, your definite compassion and passion for everyone's healing. This has been so incredible, Victoria.
Oh,
I
thank you.
really, really appreciate meeting you, and you receiving my, reach out to just kind of talk and see where we could go for having
Yeah.
you here as part of our survivorship week. It's been incredible.
I've really enjoyed getting to know you and learning more about your program. I will definitely be, I have contacts at Rose Medical where I did my treatment, and I will be sharing this with them so that hopefully I can create more of a, help them create more of a comprehensive, accessible program because you all have done an incredible job.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, well, safe travels, and I'll be thinking about you
Thank
and
you.
definitely your daughter. And again, I can't thank you enough. It's been really wonderful. I look
Absolutely.
forward to more work with you. All
Absolutely. Happy to help. Thank you, Jenny.
right,
Thank
Victoria,
you.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.